Welcome to Whaler Talk, hosted by the Hartford Whalers Booster Club. I'm Jerry Irwin with Peter Hindle from the Examiner.com, and our special guest tonight is Paul Doyle from the Hartford Courant. Peter?
Well, Paul, welcome. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
We really appreciate
Thanks for having me.
We'd love to hear your expectations, your ideas, how the Courant is interested in dealing with the rebrand and talking to people in the area. A lot of people are asking, as I told you before, the Keeping Whalers Alive message board on the Hartford Courant.
Right.
They're very interested in trying to have the Courant increase its production of whale stories, maybe some player profiles, maybe we'll talk about a good game or some of the 5 major events that WSC, the Whaler Sports and Entertainment, has put forth. What has to happen to have the Courant increase the coverage of the whale? What can people do?
I think simply by expressing that desire to our sports editor, that helps. Certainly, as attendance increases, we'll pay closer attention to the team. I don't know that we'll ever cover every game as a beat per se, but I think as time goes on, we will do more. I expect that we'll be focusing more on local sports in general. Obviously UConn is sort of our focus. Local colleges will do more with that, high schools. And then I think the Whale and the Rockcats and some of the minor league stuff in the state, it'll get more coverage. But I think that will, sort of be in the form of, like you said, player profiles, maybe a weekly package devoted to the team, looking ahead to the schedule, looking back. I could see that. And I think, as time goes on, we'll do more. I think that, again, there was a lot of interest after the rebranding, and I think you saw actually our coverage picked up a little bit. There was a little more presence in the paper and online, and I think as time goes on, we'll hopefully do more.
And that's one of the things, like Peter sees on that on the whale board there, is the energy that was inside the Civic Center again, the XL Center, with the rebranding, and the people started coming out. And I read the forum as well on the Hartford Courant, and I think it's great because you do get some passionate people that have been hiding, it looks like, for a little while, and all of a sudden they shoot their little 2 cents in there.
Yeah, they do.
We hear it, and we've been hearing it over the years. We haven't covered the team when they was the Wolfpack. We sort of we covered them right out of the gate, and then it started to slip a little bit, and we have heard it over the years, but once the team was rebranded, and I think once the Baldwins came back, we had to pay attention. Now, interestingly, there are a lot of other teams in the AHL that aren't covered by the local paper, so it's an interesting thing in minor league sports, and it doesn't necessarily mean that the team won't draw. I mean, we don't cover the Rockcats, and they draw very well.
They're phenomenal.
Yeah, they do.
So,
oh my God.
and believe me, their owner, who's a great guy, Bill Darling, he's always on us to do more. And my response to him was, well, it doesn't look like it's hurting you. Your attendance, you set attendance records every year. But we try to. It's always
a fair balance.
A balance. You try to. We used to cover the Red Sox and the Yankees, and we were in these big markets. We don't do that anymore. We don't leave the state. Jeff Jacobs will leave the state to write columns. But basically, unless UConn goes somewhere, our writers don't leave the state anymore. So I think going forward, you'll see more. We'll be paying attention more in whatever form that takes, whether it is just player profiles and notebooks and things like that. But
when the Courant is looking to do something on the whale, are you the Courant's guy? Did they go to you? Are you the main guy?
I sort of inherited it last year. We have an interesting staff, but not everyone loves hockey on our staff. So they look, I was kind of identified as a hockey guy years ago.
You're the hockey guy.
Yeah. And I love the sport, so it was sort of natural. When I had covered the Red Sox for years, and I was based in Boston for a number of years. So when I came back here, which is about 8 years ago, we had a guy doing the Whale or the Wolfpack at the time. But I started to sort of fill in, and I'll do local hockey stuff, and last year when the rebranding came, I ended up doing a lot of it. So, and I enjoyed it. I like dealing with the Baldwins, and I think the passion involving the Whalers and the whole history of the Whalers, I find that, you know, it's fascinating. It's beyond like a sports story, so it's a fun thing to cover.
And it's funny when you look at it and you see the college age kids now,
right?
The younger crowd wearing a Whalers hat, and maybe they went to a game, maybe their parents were Whaler fans, and all of a sudden you get this feeling that there's this underground movement that all of a sudden one day. And it's happened with the apparel, that it's now up, you know, at number 3, 2, and at one point it was number 1.
Yeah.
And you know, after the Stanley Cup Finals, it's whatever team wins.
Yeah.
And you just sit there and you're like, we don't have a team. Yeah. How can this possibly happen?
Right.
And then you sit there and you watch the kids. They wear the hat sideways and they're all over the place. It's great. And I think they're waiting for an opportunity, again, to have our team, Hartford. Again. And I see it all the time, and the kids talk about it, so it's great to hear, you know, the younger crowd getting into it.
Well, it's interesting. I did an interview with Pat Verbeek last year, and he said his college-age son, who's plays college hockey, told him that all my friends are wearing Whalers hats, and they don't know, you know, anything about the history of the team. These kids from like other states. So it just became this sort of trendy thing, and it is interesting. I've noticed that in the building, the number of kids, 20, you know, early 20s. Who were, you know, how old when the team left, right?
Probably 2 or 3.
Yeah. And but they're excited. They like the logo, and the idea that Hartford once had a team, I think, is intriguing to them. And
I mean, the logo speaks for itself. It has an H in the middle of it. I mean, you look at all of these, and don't get me wrong. Yes, the Boston Bruins have the spoke, but there's something about the logo that people are just gravitate towards and want it on their head or on their chest if they're wearing a T-shirt.
Yeah.
You had mentioned before that that people, if the sports editor makes a decision based on, can people email the sports editor? Can they?
You can email me. You can email the sports editor.
Okay. And just say, hey, we'd like to see more of this.
Email anyone, you know, the editor of the paper, you know, or the editor of our site. I shouldn't say paper because we're supposed to be post-paper now, digital first. So I have to watch what I say. And we've merged with Fox 61. We're all one operation now. So so in that sense, there's actually potential for us not only online but on the TV. And Rich Capola is a big hockey guy.
He is.
The one thing, the many things I like about Rich, but one of them is he cheers for that underdog. You know, he always says, you know, you watch him, and he loves the underdog. He loves that story that's just, it grabs someone's heart or it grabs someone. And right now, we're still the underdog. You know, bringing the NHL back. Pat Verbeek, when he was interviewed for the Versus program, when they did the overtime with Hartford coming back into the talks again, he said, it's going to be an uphill battle, but you know, if there's a guy to do it, it's Mr. Baldwin. So, you know, it's great to have someone who's been in the game so long to have the passion about a small community like Hartford and what they did, whether it was UConn Children's Cancer Fund and all these, you know, those are the people that lost in the end.
Well, Howard, the good thing there about Howard is he remembers those years when this team was such an integral part of the community. You talk about the charity work, not just the team, but the charity. They were really ingrained, and he brings that up.
He does.
And he talks about that, and that's, you know...
That's the heartfelt stuff that... Yes, the hockey side is a business. But it's the extras you do for just the average people out there. And those are your people that are going to be at your game. And that's what I admire about the man, is that, you know, he really cared. And his players did.
Oh, absolutely.
And he's reminding people of what it was like, you know. And I think you talk about like the kids who maybe weren't even alive when, you know, Howard was running a team with Emile Francis, but... You know, they're getting a little history lesson here.
They are, and it's about tradition.
And they're excited about, you know, I think you hear the idea of having a pro sports team here, you know, for kids who have never really experienced that, they're behind it. And I think that's what the movement needs, that.
Oh, sure.
It needs kids.
You need to dream and you need to believe.
Yes.
And really, that's what it is. It's, you know, hey, it can happen.
Sure.
Even as older kids. You know, it's all
right.
That's true. We are older kids.
That's
right. No question about that.
Young at heart.
That's right.